all the worlds of the 10 directions reside Tathagatas of the 3 times. Before each of you lions among humans, I prostrate joyfully with body, speech, and mind, and by the power of this aspiration to noble deeds, all conquerors appear vividly in my mind, with as many bodies as there are atoms in all lands. I prostrate to all you conquerors. In each atom are Buddhas numberless as atoms, all in the midst of the heirs of the Buddhas. Thus I conceive of this Dharma Dhatu as completely filled with you conquerors in this way, with infinite oceans of praise and oceans of diverse melodies. I sing the excellent qualities of all you conquerors and praise all of you gone to bliss with the best flowers and best garlands, best music, ointments, and excellent parasols, finest lamps and superior incense. I offer to you conquerors with excellent garments and best fragrances, and scent of the powder heap high as Mount Meru. All wondrous offerings perfectly arranged I offer to you conquerors. These vast and equal offerings to each and every one of you conquerors, with the power of conviction and noble deeds, I prostrate and offer to all you conquerors. All the harmful deeds that I have done with my body, speech, and mind, under the power of desire, hatred, and ignorance, I confess each and every one of them. I rejoice in all the meritorious deeds of all conquerors in the 10 directions, and the heirs of the Buddha, solitary realizers, hearers still in training and beyond, and all wandering beings, you who are lamps of the worlds of the 10 directions, who have unobstructedly attained Buddhahood through the stages of Bodhi. All you who are my protectors, please turn the unexhaled wheel of Dharma. With palms together, I earnestly beseech you who may intend to manifest final nirvana. Please remain for as many eons as there are atoms in the world for the happiness and well-being of all wandering beings. Whatever slight virtue that may have been gathered through prostrating, offering, confessing, rejoicing, requesting, and beseeching, I now dedicate to complete Bodhi. This ground sprinkled with scented waters and strewn with flowers, adorned with the supreme mountain, far continent, sun and moon. I hold in mind as the Buddha land and offer it. May all wandering beings experience such a pure land. To the Gurus who possess the 3 kayas, I offer the outer, inner, secret, and thusness offerings. With my body, wealth, and all phenomenal existence, please grant the unsurpassed supreme attainment. Whatever slight virtue I may have gathered through prostrating, offering, confessing, rejoicing, requesting, and beseeching, I now dedicate it all to complete Bodhi. Om Guru Deva Dakini Rana Mandala Pratecha Soha. Please turn the wheel of Dharma of the greater, lesser, and common vehicles in accordance with the dispositions and mental capacities of sentient beings. Dorji Janjan de Naroda, Namida Bopale Jilin, Bukale Judan, Zavela, Meshaps, and Yamagidan children of the Super Gate, Kiara,
So some of you probably have gotten used to my fancy microphone. I'm traveling, I'm sorry. So this is the best we can do. There's nothing to turn up on my end. So internet is not stable. Samsara is not stable. So all you can do is stabilize your mind. It is quite amazing that without attaining the level of Milarepa with regards to the teacher and Rechungpa with regards to the students, we can all still overcome the limitations of being separated thousands of miles. So this is modern city that is not bad actually. So anyway, Shantideva 177, he says, therefore for the increase of my body's wants, I'll give no space, no opportunity. Yeah, so we talked about this last class. In a way we can say it's the body's wants, but if once we lean in and look deeper into it, it's really not the body's wants. It's just the nature of the body that it falls apart. And because the mind cannot accept that. So then the mind mistakenly thinks the body wants it to do this and to do that, to please the body. But of course, the body has no sentience. The body in and of itself has no will, no desire, It's inert. It's alive, yes, but it has no sentience apart from our mind. So anyway, the way in which then the mind takes on the body and blames the body gets us confused about what's actually lacking. What's lacking is not the body. What's lacking is the mind. The heart is not satisfied. So then it frames the body, so to say. It frames the body. So now, playing along with how the mind frames the body. So here, Shantideva says, you have to say to your body, you keep wanting more, but no, I'll give no space, no opportunities. And then, of all the stuff that I can gather to make the body more happy, actually, those things that do not naturally attract me might actually be best for me. 177. (178) Dust and ashes are the body's final state. This body, which inert, is moved by other forces. This form so frightening and foul, why do I so regard it as my self? So now Shantideva is shifting, trying to shift our attention. It says that actually this body that we identify with so much, even though we think, oh, we as in maybe the mind think, it's so smart, I'm going to frame the body. Actually, it's my dissatisfaction, but I'm going to conveniently blame it on the body. But now Shantideva is turning things around to say, actually, you at first think, you could blame the body and try to satisfy all your wants, all your mind, all your infinite, unending wants and needs and preferences. You think, that you have outsmarted things and you can just blame it on the body. But in fact, have you seen how now you have gotten yourself in such a bind that you can't get out? In fact, he says, when you look, the body is inert. And at the end, when you come right down to it, it's just dust and ashes. So then he says, it's so frightening and foul. Again, some of us might not be used to some of the language that we find in Buddhist sources talking about how foul, how unclean the body is. Now, this is not to say that Shantideva is trying to encourage you to have like a negative body image or to hate your body. It's not saying that. It's just saying we have selectively covered up those parts of our body and aspects of the body that we find displeasing. And then we have overly exaggerated those nice parts. But he says, when you really look into it, if you are enamored by it, if you are enslaved by it, you should also see how repulsive it also is. And in any case, the main point here is how it's unwise to think that this body is boss. So here when it says, to regard it as myself, that's, effectively what it's saying. Like in our confusion, we have at first tried to use the body and blame the body, but in fact, in doing that, now we have unwittingly said the body is boss. It says, how can we say the body is boss? The body is not boss. It's not self. alive or dead, what difference does it make? What use is this machine to me? What difference will divide it from a clod of earth? Alas, that I don't rid myself of pride. Now, when you read like a passage like this, you also have to remember, right? Elsewhere, Shantideva says, now that we have obtained this body, this precious human life, we should not squander it away. It is very precious. So you cannot take a passage like this out of its context and say, oh, this is what Buddhists think. What difference does it make, alive or dead? No, here it is talking about the last line here. I don't rid myself of pride. So here Shantideva is pointing at how often this body, what we think of it, we think, oh, my body is so nice, this is so nice, this, that, all that. It is a source of pride. So when somebody says something about our appearance, if we like it, oh, we feel so good. If they say something that we don't like about our appearance, oh, we get so upset. We get so kind of affected. So he says, like, come on, look at it from another perspective to see how if we don't give up identifying with body as I, because the problem with identifying with body as I is that things quickly turn around so that you lose your sense of autonomy, freedom. You have become tied to what is ultimately unreliable and of the nature of falling apart. So this is why here he says, birth, alive or dead, what difference does it make? It's saying basically this is inert material. Don't think you are so smart and saying, well, this is what my body needs. This is what my body wants. It's not really me. when in fact, when we surrender that, then the conspiracy of the monkey mind goes so deep that you cannot get out. through lavishing attention on this body, 180, such sorrow have I brought myself to so senselessly. What use is all my wanting, all my having, all my hating? For what indeed is like a log of wood? So yes, we have given so much attention to this body. So we work so hard. Why? Because we say, oh, we need money. We need the resources to make life more comfortable. Then at a certain point, you're like, oh, work is harming my body. So now I need to work harder so that I have the resources to repair the body. In the end, you are just, keeping the economy going, what you really want, you're not, in fact, even getting,
Dr. Lai, you
Oh,
didn't
yeah.
unmute yourself.
Yes. So 181, it says, whether I protect or pamper it on the one hand, or whether it is eaten up by, carrion birds. That means, the body, you're dead, they throw it and then birds come eat it. This body feels no pleasure, no aversion. So he's making that point that I made earlier, which we all know. It's not the body, it's the mind that is not satisfied. Then it recruits the body. It thinks it's so smart, it recruits the body to justify its unlimited wants, its unreasonable desires. Then it frames it on the body. But, the body itself, in this sense, we could say, is not to be blamed. Even when you pamper and protect it, or it is eaten by birds in and of itself, it neither feels pleasure, satisfaction, nor aversion. So why then do I cherish it so much? So stop blaming the body and stop giving credit to the body and understand it's a problem of mind. It's a problem of mind. Yes, of course, as a footnote, the body has nutritional needs, all of that. I'm not denying that. Shantideva is not denying that by talking in this way. He's just trying to shift our misplaced kind of problem, and our misplaced priorities, which we habitually have attributed to this body. Resentment, when it is reviled, now verse 182, or pleasure when it is esteemed. But neither of these two my body feels. So why do I exhaust myself? And somebody praise my appearance, oh, I like this. Then you do everything to try to, fish for more praises, for your so good, oh, that thing that you're wearing, it fits you so well, blah blah blah, all of that. Or when it is reviled, like yuck, then we get so worked up. Then we do everything to prevent that from happening. And it says, why exhaust yourself like that? That's not really what matters. 183. If I say that I do this, that I love my body so much, on account of how other people love it, other whom I thus regard as my friends, my families, or they like, me so much. When we say, oh, they like me, it's very superficial. We're saying, they like this body, they like this appearance. So Shantideva says, if you even, still try to not accept the truth of this, and say, well, I like this body, I like this person because, so many people like it, And then he says, well, and so many people also like their own body, their own appearance. So if you care so much about this, why aren't you also extending that care to others? So that is 183. Therefore, 184, therefore, free from all attachment, I will give this body for the benefit of beings. And though it is afflicted by so many faults, I shall adopt it as my necessary tool. Yeah, so here, right, Shantideva says, so let's turn this limited attachment, right, on the basis of attachment, right, which you could say, is so deeply ingrained in us, right, that we naturally kind of like, oh, me, right? It says now, one way to free yourself from this tightness is to extend it to others. So of course, in extending to others, we're not saying, you grab, ooh, I want this, I want this, I want this, I want this person, I want this person, I want this person. He's saying like, expand it in a way that is going out, not like grabbing them in. Expand outwards and say, just as I cherish this, I have also good reason to cherish all of that. Just as I care for this, I have very good reason to care for all this. But again, you don't do this in a neurotic way. You don't do it in a grasping way. That's why here, therefore, free from all attachment, I will give this body for the benefit of beings. And even if, from one perspective, which Shantideva points out, this body has a lot of faults, but if we have skill, then this is very useful, very good, which actually, again, earlier on, in earlier chapters, Shantideva repeatedly points out how once bodhicitta has arisen within this mind that is reliant on this body, then this becomes a wish-fulfilling jewel. So then body becomes a necessary tool in bringing real and meaningful good to self and other. 180. And so enough of all my childish ways. I'll follow in the footsteps of the wise, recalling their advice on carefulness. I'll shun all sleep and mental downness. Yeah. So here, Shantideva says, enough already. Saying to the heart and mind, childish ways, which is that, you go blame the body, or you go credit the body, when in fact it's the mind. You go blame, or you go put it on the body. If satisfaction can come that way, then Shantideva has no problems with that. But the problem is satisfaction that we're looking for cannot come from there. So now, time to give up on our childish ways, and instead we'll follow the way of the wise. All the examples of the Bodhisattvas that lead to the state of Buddha will follow that example, and recall their advice on carefulness. One of the earlier chapters is actually called this. And we will shun all sleep and mental downness. It's not saying don't sleep, because we know those of us who are still very much tied to the body, you need proper number of hours of sleep. We know that the brain kind of flushes out all these dead cells when we sleep, so it can regenerate. So again, it's not attacking sleep. There are advanced great practitioners who, through gradual training, have been able to require less and less sleep, for sure. But here, more important, or more what the point is getting at, is this mental downness, this state of sleep, as in mentally asleep. We are going to make a resolve to end that, and instead to gradually but certainly keep increasing mental clarity, to see clearly, to not be fooled again by appearances. Like the Buddha's heirs and their compassion. The Buddha's heirs are the Bodhisattvas. Like the Buddha's heirs and their compassion, I will bear with all that should be born. So I will follow in the footsteps of the Bodhisattvas. For if I do not labor night and day, when will my sorrows reach their end? So if I do not cultivate this carefulness and vigilance night and day at all times, then the opportunity that we have now to achieve some measure of freedom from being terrorized by the afflictive emotions, we will lose all those opportunities. So it's saying, don't waste time. Again, type A Americans, don't feed your neurosis, like I gotta do, it doesn't work like that. But the irony is also, type A also comes with, easily distracted. Oh, I'm going to go do this now. Oh, I'm going to go do that now, and cannot stay focused. So we need to develop this balance, knowing the degree and amount of persistence and pushing forward. Also knowing to always maintain a spacious and not so easily moved, not so easily kind of thrown, off course. So both a particular kind of narrowness, you could say, of focus. But this narrow focus is not the ordinary narrow focus where it's very tight and very inflexible. This focus arises from recognizing the spaciousness. Go about it that way. When we approach the path that way, then all experiences along the way we can fold in to enhance this. When we do not approach the path that way, then even our practice can become very neurotic.
Dr. Lai.
187, it says, the concluding verse. Thus, to banish all obscuring veils, I'll bend my mind from the mistaken path, and constantly upon the perfect object, I shall rest my mind in even meditation, stable meditation. What is this talking about? Now, this final verse reminds us this whole chapter, it's about 2 points, you could say, or 2 steps. But these 2 steps are not like, you have taken step number 1. Now you're in step number 2. You never have to forget, never have to remember step number 1. Maybe it's like a 2-step that is side by side, step, 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 which is, on the one hand, be done with distractions. 2, settle your heart, settle your mind in bodhicitta. As a paramita, as a perfection, out of the 6 perfections, the 5th is called the paramita of meditative concentration, which is the title of this chapter. Now, under this label or topic of meditative concentration, there can be so many different things that you can identify, and you say, oh, the mind needs to settle into meditation on this, on this, on this, on that. Here, Shantideva is not talking about meditating on this, on that, this, that. He's not talking about techniques. He's talking about, as a bodhisattva in training, as a Buddha to be, where our hearts and mind need to constantly abide in, settle in, meditate on, is bodhicitta. All aspects of bodhicitta. Then, when we understand that, then we can use any technique. Oh, mindfulness of breath. Oh, mindfulness of, the unsatisfactory nature of the body. Oh, mindfulness of the qualities of the Buddhas. Oh, mindfulness, meaning not forgetting Lady Tara. Oh, deity yoga, all those things. Once we understand that what lies at the heart of our practice is to return again and again, not parting from this bodhicitta, and that in the end, at the end, so to say, of the path, it is also none other than bodhicitta. When we understand this point, then our mind can remain settled, which is the topic of this chapter that we just completed with verse 187.
Y la última estrofa del capítulo
So with this, we have finished chapter 8. Chapter 8 is the longest because we have so many distractions. We get so easily distracted, you know. Something shiny turns up, oh, gone. Something shiny turns up again, oh, gone. So even in the, well, not even, but in the pith instructions on like formal meditation, you know, Kyobaji Dinzungen says, you know, like undistracted attention, undistracted presence is the highway that all Buddhas of past, present, and Buddhas in the future will take as their main kind of highway to awakening. Is the path of all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of past, present, and future is simply to cultivate undistracted presence, undistracted attention, undistracted presence of mind. So distractions, and then ultimately, you know, from like Mahamudra perspective, you could say, the problem of samsara is that we have been distracted so that we don't see our Buddha nature, the nature of mind. Then when we don't understand nature of mind, and we don't understand the relationship between nature of mind and the activities of mind, then all kinds of problems come. We even start treating the activities of the mind as the enemy and try to, you know, crush the activities of the mind. But actually, the activities of the mind isn't really where the problem is. And the problem is being distracted, having been led further and further away from really understanding the mind and its qualities. So with chapter 8, then the first verse of chapter 9, I will just briefly read kind of the link to chapter 9, the chapter on wisdom. It says, Shantideva says, all these branches of the teachings of the doctrine, meaning everything that he has covered in the first 8 chapters, the enlightened sage expounded, and the Buddha taught for the sake of leading us to now the topic of wisdom. Therefore they, meaning us, who want to become Buddhas, who want to be free from suffering, must cultivate this wisdom. Those of us who want to put an end to suffering have to cultivate this wisdom. The wisdom that will be discussed in detail in chapter 9. Now, of course, you know, the wisdom in this chapter 9 has already been discussed, you know, in all the earlier chapters. It's already the seeds have already been planted. It's only that in chapter 9, all the details are expounded upon. Now, chapter 9, I've already said, you know, it's the kind of technically most challenging chapter of all of Shantideva's text, of the entire text. Chapter 9 is technically the most challenging because suddenly he starts bringing in very specific Indian Buddhist and non-Buddhist philosophical systems, right? And he starts to kind of unpack each of them. And he also goes about showing how each of them are still mistaken in this way or in that way, and in this way or in that way. So like the material covered in chapter 9 has also become like the main material or one of the main resource for the Tibetan monastic education that involves debate, that involves, like, you know, critical debate to show the flaws in one's thinking. So as a result, you know, chapter 9 has also garnered a lot of attention in the monastic education, emphasizing debate and logic. Now, I do not have the skills to teach chapter 9 this way. So we'll see, you know, either we'll take a long time to finish chapter 9, or we will finish chapter 9 very quickly. As I have, you know, shared with you, you know, this one time we were attending a teaching by His Holiness the Dalai Lama. He shared how that there's a saying in Tibetan that you should teach these texts the way an old person, an elderly person eats. And so what does that mean? It means that, you know, an elderly person, if they get a piece of meat that is soft, then they should chew on it and chew on it and chew on it and really get the flavor out of it. Then when they get a piece that is hard, you know, they should just quickly swallow it and move on.
he
So many parts of chapter 9, you know, we might have to like just swallow and move on quickly. In fact, Pema Chudron's very popular commentary on the Bodhicharyavatara that is this thick, called No Time to Lose, this book. She completely just skipped chapter 9. She said, I'm not even going to talk about chapter 9. So she swallowed the whole chapter. Anyhow, today we will stop here and do the dedication. Chanju sem choren poche ma ge ba nam ge chi ge ba nyam ba me ba nyam gong ne gong du e wan shu. Okay, ta-ta, everybody.
Thank you, Dr. Lee.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Lai.
And
Thank
maybe
you.
yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Lai.
Gracias.
Gracias, gracias.
Muchas gracias.
Gracias. Adiós.
No sé.